Hi, good afternoon to all of you. And I think the distinguished guests who are there, we will try and take their views, what their organizations are trying to um, address for all of us. 2040 is the aim for aviation, how sustainability would be addressed in the future, how it is being addressed today, how is it being looked at today, what are some challenges in aviation, technology, in limitations of people trying to adapt to some of these things is what is going to be discussed in the next about 25, 30 minutes. You would get a good perspective about, how the after sales market of the aviation industry is trying to align, address these things. Companies like Collins, which is kind of a leader into these kind of solutions in the future, is looking at what are their priorities, how are they looking at some of the concerns which is there today. I may spell out some of these concerns so that the context of the conversation goes into this area. 2040 in aviation, one thing which comes to all of us in mind is that the number of aircrafts, number of passengers is really going to shoot up in a very, very big way all over the world and definitely in India in a very big way. Today, the aviation market in India is roughly around 500,000 passenger seats a day. If this is growing at about 6% by 2040, this would definitely be over 1 million seats a day. To address, so today as passengers, when you go in, the queues that you see, the check-in systems that you see, how the aircrafts are handled at the airports, the air traffic control, all these have learnings that they will have to adapt, align to very large volumes. And I think these are some of these small challenges. Apart from that, from the engineering side, how the technology is changing, how composites are becoming a part of the aircraft structure from metals. So these are some topics that we would discuss upon. I'm sure that some of you may also have some thoughts and we would like to align with you, try and give you some insights as to how we feel about them. And with this, I would request Kailash to touch upon some of these points, of what they feel in the industry that is important from them, from the engineering standpoint, especially composites, future, electrification, or sustainable fuels. These are some things which are being talked about today. They have challenges, and he can tell more about them as an organization, what they feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Shuni. So to give you some background about my company, so it's Spirit Aerosystems, not the airlines. We manufacture fuselage, wing, nacelles of pretty much every flying plane. We have some content or the other on most of these aircrafts from a production point of view. These days, or at least in the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of the production is in composites. Composites are, more widely used because they're lighter, they're stiffer, depending on how you make it. And so it can allow for lower emissions once they're up in the air, just because of some of these advantages of composites. And so my company, we have been investing in research and the sustainable aspects of our research are around flying more electric planes. Of course, there's a whole big question mark about whether electricity is clean, but we will leave that for a later time. But more electric planes essentially, lowers emissions. We work on trying to recycle composites. We, of course, know what happens with plastic bags in oceans and landfills, and so we want to avoid that 10 years from now, once many of these planes start getting torn down. And we also work on repairs. So The business that I lead is, as was mentioned earlier, is an aftermarket. And in aftermarket, what we do is repair damaged components as opposed to replacing them. So if there's a dent in a cover of an engine, or there's bird strike on the red dome of an aircraft, or spoilers on the wings get hit by hail, rather than replacing the sheet of metal or the sheet of composite, we actually fix it such that there's less scrap that we are introducing into the environment. So these are some of the ways in which Spirit Aerosystems is involved from a product point of view. Now, from a process point of view, several of our factories, we have about 7 or 8 factories around the world that are producing or assembling parts of aircrafts. Several of our factories are 100% driven by sustainable energy. So we are off the coal grid, we are off the gas grid. We are either using wind power, where if we are in regions with high winds, or we are using solar power to heat water and so on. So from a process point of view, that's some of the ways in which we are adopting sustainable alternatives to regular methods of energy. So I'll leave it for now, and I will pass this on.
Yeah, please. Satya, what are some of your views on these points, and from your organization standpoint as well?
Yeah, good afternoon all. Thank you nasscom for creating this platform to talk about aviation vision for 2040. I'm part of Collins Aerospace, part of the RTX group companies. Regarding, so when we are talking about the vision, I think everybody in a way is working towards more connected, autonomous, sustainable, clean, green, and all that. So everybody is sort of working on that. I'll talk a little bit about different things that Collins is doing along these lines, and that should answer a lot about sustainability or increasing efficiency through cutting out weight, or optimization of space and all that. So at Collins, we work on 7 different technology vectors that cut across the BUs. Number 1 is flight autonomy, autonomous operations. So where there is a significant workload on the pilot and the crew. So we are working towards reducing that load significantly by bringing in the advanced sensors and intelligence system, the communication system, the navigation system, bring it all together and using intelligence to derive decisions. So that is one. Number 2 is cabin experience, increase the experience for the passenger, not just by comfort is yes, better ergonomics or pardon me, or creating or customizing, let's say, what kind of in-flight entertainment someone likes, what kind of food and beverages someone likes, or the mood lighting, so that is the other thing, but also, creating contactless solutions where, like touchless laboratory, that makes the cabin more safer. So that is on the cabin experience. Number 3 is connected aircraft, connected ecosystem rather. So connected ecosystem means in the aircraft and outside. So in the aircraft where all the systems are talking together, data is coming in centrally, and then decisions are being made. So you can make better early decision, based on prognostics, health monitoring, and avoid unscheduled removal or unscheduled maintenance kind of activities. And then it also connects back to the ground, air traffic control, the airport or the customers. So everybody can tap into, and that just increases the efficiency, and the flight on-time performance also increases significantly. So that is the connected ecosystem. The other thing is about connected battle space. So we are using we are connecting land, coming up with communication system to connect land, air, and sea, and cyber, launch cyber warfare, right? So it gives you better reconnaissance and abilities, and early threat detection, evolving threat detection, those kind of abilities. So that is connected battle space. Couple of others is integrated solutions, where a structure is no more a structure, right? No, it does multiple things. You build in multiple functionalities into it. It has the sensor, it has the, it can work as an antenna and so on. So today's technologies like the additive gives a lot of advantage, to this kind of initiatives that we have. And it also, so one of the vision that we have is short wings, right? So it also helps to, optimize the space, this kind of initiatives. The last one being the advanced structures, where we are looking at recyclable thermoplastics to cut down weight and improve the efficiency, and also like the carbon composite, like for landing system applications, it absorbs a lot of energy. It's not very energy efficient. So by using lighter structure, to take a lot of weight out of it, and make the whole process. So thereby, some of the technologies like electric aircraft or advanced structures give you a lot of advantage in terms of weight, and make the whole process efficient and sustainable.
Thank you, Satya. Over to you, Kailash. I think one point that you dwelled upon was after service, especially repairing of composites. What do you think is the future of composites? Because we all know everyone wants the aircraft weights to come down, so go from metal to composites. And composites have their own challenges of repair, of disposal. Same would happen to batteries. All the electrification that we see today, when the batteries run out and they don't charge anymore efficiently, how are we going to manage that? So in aviation, when we talk about composites, electrification of components, with the batteries, the large, heavy batteries, how do you see as an MRO industry addressing such challenges by 2040? What volumes, what numbers, what kind of skills, material availability, disposal norms with future? If you can just throw some light on that.
Sure. So today we are actually seeing maybe about a 70-30 mix of metal versus composite repairs. There's still about 20,000 aircrafts that are mostly metal, and there's about 4,000 or 5,000 that are starting to come about that are largely composite and titanium. So there's still a very heavy metal need for replacement or repairs. But with regards to composites, we don't necessarily yet design composite aircraft from a repair point of view. Composites are known to be brittle. For those of you that bike or that have motorbikes that are composite, you probably have already seen situations where once a part of the bike gets damaged, you really have to discard the part and replace it with a new one. Whereas with metal, you could use a hammer and a chisel and a screwdriver, and you can try to figure out how to get it back to work. So that fundamental ability of metal to be bent back into shape renders composites to be rather difficult to work with in the aftermarket. But having said that, we are starting to see situations where our customers, our airline customers, bring in composite panels, or they bring in composite nacelle products, and we actually have to go back to the grassroots, essentially strip the composite down to its layers and recook it or rebake it in an autoclave or in a high temperature oven, pretty much the same way that the original part would have been made. So from that point of view, we are able to bring composites back to life, but it's more expensive. So from an economic point of view, it's not necessarily sustainable, although from an environmental point of view it is, which starts to become a major issue. Sustainability will only work if it's going to work for the shareholders. If whatever the shareholders are, it could be you, me, it could be large corporations, it could be anyone. But if sustainability comes at a cost that is not that doesn't make it viable, then we need a lot more research into sustainability. So composites, from that point of view, and the sustainability aspects of it in aftermarket, it's starting to get there. We are having to redesign several products that were not designed for repair, so we're having to do that in the field. We're still trying to figure out ways in which we can reduce scrap. There are some technologies that will allow you to reshred composites and make other kinds of materials, such as rugs, for example. And I mean, we are starting to already now see recycled plastics in clothes. Similar applications, but if you were to work with aerospace fibers for it, again, you'll find that you can make a shirt out of aerospace fabric, recycled, but it might cost you $5,000, and it won't even have a Louis Vuitton sign on it. So, so there are some of these issues that we still have to deal with in composites, but the eyes are open, and we are trying to make it work.
Thank you, Kailash. So the other side of the question, I'll take it up with you, Satya. And this was regarding the electrification of aircrafts, which is coming up, which is seen as one area of improvement and future. What is your opinion about electric aircrafts? How do you see this market by 2040? What kind of aircrafts would get there, and so on?
Yeah, so we have some experience. Collins works heavily. I mean, in collaboration with Pratt and Whitney, we had it. We did a demonstration program where there was short-haul small regional flight that we flew with a 2-megawatt motor. So we have some experience. But the way I see it is, there is going to be obviously there will be more electric, smaller taxis kind of, or UAVs running, but if we have to adopt, make the commercial airliners, the bigger ones, the bigger planes, go electric, I think that will take time. And, I can see that, smaller regional aircraft will definitely be there, in maybe 15, 20 years from now. But there are a couple of things. One is energy, management is going to be the key in terms of, when we are talking about commercial airlines, we are talking about the regular ones. We are talking about power in kilowatts. But when we are talking about complete electrification or hybrid propulsion, it's going to be all in megawatts. So managing that, the primary distribution, the secondary distribution, the power conversion, so we are actively investing in high voltage architecture where the efficiency will be much better, and managing the distribution will be much better. So that is going to be one of the key areas if we are going to go for electrification.
Thank you. Back to you, Kailash. So we're not going to let you go silent long. What is your opinion about alternate fuels, which are now picking up, as they call sustainable fuels, or even otherwise as alternate sources of fuel? Battery was one, some kind of, a non-hydrocarbon kind of fuel mixture, or nuclear or hydrogen-based totally. What is your opinion on such fuels today, and by 2040? What do you see that as a vision?
So no doubt in aviation, I think fuel and propulsion are some of the leading, let's say, drivers of emissions. And I wouldn't say they are the culprits, because without them you can't really have planes flying in the air. They are the double-edged sword, and so really solving sustainability of aviation really comes down to solving, I think, sustainability of propulsion. So from a propulsion point of view, back 15 years ago, there were conversations of supercapacitors and other high-density electric power devices, and we are still continuing to have those conversations. Of course, there's a lot more electric aircrafts that are being tested, that are being flown. However, ranges are limited. Adverse weather conditions start having a massive impact on the fuel source. So we are aware of those concepts. But with regards to 2040, I think, with regards to fuel, so yes, there's a lot of press around, SAF being used, and there's a lot of press about biofuels essentially making their way into flying vehicles. Obviously, there's different leaders in propulsion that tend to use one fuel versus the other. But I think these are I think you mentioned earlier the financial availability of these fuels at the right pricing is going to be critical in the adaptability of it. So that's one aspect, which is alternate fuels and at what prices are they available. But just thinking radically, I think we need to get back to the drawing board and say, can we have, just if you will allow me a digression into some of the Marvel movies on, Iron Man and the kinds of power sources that are used. Can we get those into aviation? I mean, that's when we really will start making a difference, I think, from both power and availability, sustainability, and so on. It's not too far off because we do have nuclear submarines that can go for years at a time. Now, the one thing that submarines have or don't have that airplanes have is a power to weight ratio. So we have to design some of these power sources, and I'm not a power source or a power engineer, but using nuclear to try to get us into the air, I think will be one of those radical alternatives that we need to keep in mind as we think about 2040.
Thanks, Kailash. Just to add to what Kailash was saying, and one of the big areas today for sustainable fuels or alternate fuels that we talk about is the expense of the feedstock from where you make the fuel. And today, it comes from a non-edible source. But we forget that what humans may not consume, something else as living may be consuming. So if we are taking their food away and converting that into something that we feel that because we don't eat a certain seed, we assume no one does that. And maybe it has long-term environment ramifications. So yes, I do agree with you that the livestock or the base stock is really expensive. It does not make commercial sense today. But I'm sure 2040, I wish all of us live to see this, and we see the changes that we see as challenges today are getting addressed then. For one last question with you, Satya. From a battery technology point of view, you mentioned that you've done some trials. So do I understand that the trials for electrifying aircraft engines or such battery-operated aircrafts are going to be small regional aircrafts? Do you see this going into a much larger application for bigger aircrafts?
Yeah, I think, and today where we are today, I think, like I said, smaller flights or the UAVs or the smaller hauls, regional jets, small regional jets, that's going to be possibility in the near future, maybe around 15 years from now. But because one more thing that we are forgetting in all this is regulations, right? It has to be all regulated. I mean, we talk about technologies, I was talking about, using, let's say, technologies like AI, ML, data analytics and all that, right? But even for that matter, additive, we don't have a way to certify those and get into the plane, right? So, so similarly, I think one thing that has to be also done, and there is the consortium is working to see how these technologies can be certified. So even though, but I see that, we'll figure out a way where we have the smaller aircrafts probably flying electric, maybe hybrid more. I would say, but for the larger planes, I think it will take a little bit of time. Especially like I was talking about energy management, and we were talking backstage about the lithium, exploration and all that. So all that, the entire, so it has to be looked at in totality, the ecosystem. So that will probably take a little bit more time.
Thank you, Satya. So we have a little time for one or two questions. If any one of you may have some questions that you would like to clarify from our panelist here, please. I can.
So good afternoon, sir. So my name is Manikandan. I'm from Boeing, India. So I think you and you guys talked about how the market and how is aviation market is going to be in 2040, and it could be a multi-billion business for us in India. So my question is like the market is growing. So you talked about very well. What about the engineering capabilities we do have in India? So right now, till today, we are dependable on US or Europe on the engineering capabilities. If we have any MRO situation or AOG situation, so we have to rely on US or Europe to address those situations. So in terms of engineering capabilities, we are lagging in India. So what will be, how will you bridge those capabilities in India in a short term or long term?
Thank you. So, Kailash, I think this would be an area, or you'd like to take that?
I'm part of Collins Engineering, so we can probably talk offline after this. I can tell you, we have a significant capability. You're talking about AOG, we have aftermarket teams in Collins that serves around the world. So similarly, there's a lot of product that we have complete ownership on. Although I hear what you are saying, there is still some gap in terms of completely doing end-to-end. I think we'll get there. The only reason that we are not doing it today is because of export control regulations. Some technologies being restricted. But I can tell you that we have a lot of capability in India. It's just a matter of time. With a lot of new players, startups coming into the field, I think, and taking a big giant leap in terms of developing some of the solutions, I see that it's just a matter of time that we'll get there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Maybe just one last question, please. Then we can wrap up the session because the other panelists have come in as well.
Good evening. This is Surya. I'm talking from an education background. I come from an education sector. Yeah, I come from an education background. So my question is, there is a huge gap between industry and academia, and especially in the field of aeronautical and aviation sector. So how do we leverage the gaps in career enhancement going forward for the students and the engineering outcomes from the colleges who are located across India? That's a specific question I'm looking at, and which we are finding it gap in a bigger way. And their opportunities are questioned, and they do engineering and aerospace, but the validation in India is little less. So we should look at the ways how we can bring that further into the world.
Can I answer this for him, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, when you talk about the growth, growth is in every sector. The support sector for aviation, when you talk about the skill part of it, the pilots, engineers, technicians, the people who otherwise would work on the ground and so on. So there is growth in every direction happening. Yes, if some area is lagging behind something else, I'm sure that industry would realize that there is more scope for them. And India is a great country. People see opportunities and align themselves. Today, I won't say supply, but we are a country which has very, very large skilled workforce, and the world looks upon us to substitute some of their talent, which they have not been able to keep pace with. So I'm sure we understand that. You are in the field of education. What you see today, I'm sure there is somebody who's trying to address, and they will keep pace. I believe a lot about everybody doing their job in this society, and the society grows, as a whole. But I can assure you, I'm also partly associated with academics, and a lot is happening. I'm sure it will address these challenges too. We have now, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hoping for the best.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just like to wrap up our session. I think one thing became quite evident, that new materials are coming up in aircrafts, composites. Today, the understanding of composites, repair, everything is limited. Maybe in future, like Kailash was saying, other components have started recycling already. Maybe 10, 15 years back, there was limited information about them. Same would happen for aircraft composites. With time they would find a way out, because that's what is being done. We also came to know from Satya that there is initial stage of electrical aircrafts emerging, though small right now. But that's how everything starts. It starts small, and good that these directions are happening. Also, we understand from Kailash that there are alternate fuels being looked at, and I'm sure there are people working into making it more efficient. He gave a very good example. There are nuclear submarines. They can go without fueling for years together. I'm sure people know how to manage that. It just needs to get adapted in the aviation side, or maybe other parts of industry. With this, I would like to thank all of you and our panelists here for the attention you've given and for the insights they've been able to share. Thank you so much.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to NASSCOM YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.